Welcome back to One Eye News, America's Eye, laser focus on the truth. I'm Johnny D, keeping my eye on the truth for America. Okay, folks, we have some serious issues to cover today, and we had to take a little break again because I had a little smoke inhalation and my voice was a little harshed out and raspy due to breathing in some smoke as I was trying to extinguish a fire. And anyhow, so let's get to it. First of all, regarding the real truth about the divisive attacks on President Trump once again, and the lies being sold by the mainstream propaganda media and the leaders of the anti-American citizens movement that are Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. First, we want to be clear that when President Trump indicated that President Obama had wiretapped the Trump Tower, well, he was 100% correct, folks. As One Eye News has previously predicted, and One Eye News and President Trump have been vindicated, and we were 100% correct. One Eye News also pointed out that James Clapper was always lying, as we noted, and that he was caught lying before when he lied about spying on Americans after 9/11. Okay? And that's just a fact, folks. And he was again lying when he stated that there were no surveillance taking place against candidate Trump, which is again another lie that we predicted, and now we will be proven right again. I watched James Clapper lying all those years ago after 9/11, and I immediately pronounced that his body language gave him away then, just as his body language gave him away now, again, when on March 5th, 2017, James Clapper was on tape lying about these surveillance operations that were definitely taking place against candidate Trump. And then again, against President-elect Trump as well. When Clapper stated that there were definitely no FISA warrants approved to spy on then-candidate Trump, which was again a blatant lie told to the American people by this scumbag, James Clapper, who is an enemy of the state and an anti-American agent of Obama and the anti-American Democratic Party. And James Clapper and James Comey were also definitely spying on General Flynn as well. And we all know that. You know, we know this is a fact, and we cannot look away and ignore these lying, cheating, despicable, disgraceful citizens and so-called intelligence officers. Again, I think that's an oxymoron. As they were also spying on Paul Manafort, and in order to also spy on candidate Trump. I also believe that these scumbags were also spying on the presidential nominee after the election took place, and we had our new president. Thus, they were spying on an American president, a sitting American president, folks. And, this, my friends, is nothing less than traitorous actions against America, and they should all be investigated, prosecuted, and convicted of these treasonous actions against a sitting American president. I would also go as far as saying that this spying continues today. As, yes, President Trump is the president now, but he's still surrounded by all of these individuals that are working against him to bring him down. Okay, then there's the anti-American Samantha Power, who was one of the agents that was guilty of unmasking and subversive actions against an American presidential candidate. And the opposition party, as she is another Democratic anti-American agent of Obama. And Obama, who was and is the number one anti-American citizen that has divided our nation with his radical terrorist activities against the American citizens. And proving once again that he is the leader of the anti-American citizens movement. He's just operating from a position of darkness and behind the scenes and also in light, in front of the scenes as well. And Obama should also be investigated, prosecuted, and convicted for his crimes against America. Now, folks, I know how that sounds, but it's just the truth about this anti-American radical terrorist that has blinded a nation and created this ongoing race war within America. The fact is, my friends, that our country has become the most corrupt nation in the free world under the Obama rule. And Obama ordered and employed the FBI, the CIA, the IRS, the Justice Department, the State Department, and the NSA to destroy our democracy and our republic, and for the goal of turning America into a global citizen of the world. Okay, folks? As we have pointed out again and again, and we're going to continue to do so. And also to give all Americans, adversaries, and enemies the ability to infiltrate our institutions in order to destroy America. I'm also going to point out, and I will say what everyone else is afraid to say, because they will be labeled a racist. Okay, folks? But it has to be recognized that Barack and Michelle Obama, Eric Holder, Loretta Lynch, Susan Rice, and Maxine Waters, who are all black American citizens that are all the top anti-American agents and who are anti-American citizens, along with Hillary Clinton and her band of anti-American agents as well. Now, folks, again, I know how this sounds, but it is just true, and the facts are staring us right in the face. Again, we have no sponsors here at One Eye News. We have no bosses that can fire us for our commentaries. And this matters because, we really have the ability to inform America without fear of losing sponsors and or being fired. Unless I'm going to fire myself, and I don't think that's going to happen, folks. So, we will quickly revisit the fact that Hillary Clinton is running around and speaking more lies every day and selling them to the mindless followers that we have detailed in all of our episodes. Hillary Clinton is a lying, cheating thief that has subverted America's institutions and policies in order to enrich herself. Okay, folks? I mean, come on now. We can all see that. 2 + 2 and all that. She has zero integrity and is one of the most dishonest people in America. Along with Obama. And these are just the facts. Like it or not, these are the facts. And we have the proof to show that. We've been pointing that out in our previous episodes. And we are going to continue to do so. As Clinton keeps on, she keeps going on to any shows that will allow her to misrepresent the truth and the facts. And this is this is an anti-American person who serves only herself and the anti-American Obama agenda. She is the clear and present danger to all Americans. And anyone who tells you otherwise is lying to you, folks. Lastly, on this topic, we need to address the anti-American Michelle Obama, who has now, recently been attacking any and all women that voted for Donald Trump and not for Hillary Clinton. And she is suggesting that these are ignorant women who do not know what they're doing and have ignored their own voice. And, well, first of all, Mrs. Obama, we should point out that if any women that voted for your husband and not for Hillary Clinton must have not also had a voice or not known what they were doing then in 2008, okay? Right? Question mark, Mrs. Obama. Did they know what they were doing? Did they have a voice when they voted for your husband? According to you and your unintelligent rhetoric, that is just hypocrisy, racist, and sexist. Yes, I'm going to say sexist since, you guys all want to point the finger at any man who ever makes a comment that you can deem sexist. Well, we're going to do the same. And we're going to do it to women. We're going to do it to you, Michelle Obama, because you seem to be a sexist, just like all the other sexists who are attacking the First Lady. Okay? And you are a racist. As previously pointed out, with your wanting and willing associations with many racists like Reverend Jeremiah Wright, who is clearly a racist, as are you, since you attended his church, his racist church, for 20 plus years. And he performed your marriage ceremony, as we have previously pointed out. And you support and revere the Muslim Brotherhood and Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam, who are racist, okay? Now, this cannot be disputed. These are racist organizations that hate America, hate Americans, hate anything Western, hate all whites. And so stop it, because you're just embarrassing yourself, Mrs. Obama, and all the women that might agree with you, for that matter. Okay. Now let's talk about the anti-Americans, and we must quickly cover the incident regarding the DACA program that took place in San Francisco when the anti-American illegal citizens, illegal aliens I should say, but they're being granted citizenship, attacked one of their own champions, who is Nancy Pelosi. And it confirms exactly what One Eye News detailed in episode 3, when One Eye News detailed the fact that these ungrateful, illegal, and legal immigrants have zero gratitude for America and all the benefits that America has given them. And the fact that we pointed out, that when you give and give and give, then they will take and take and take. When you give them an inch, they're going to take 10,000 miles. And then they will attack the very people who gave them everything that they've ever had. And that is a fact, folks. As proven by the chanting that took place by these ungrateful people that chanted, all 11 million, all 11 million, meaning, they are now demanding that 11 million illegal immigrants that broke the law in order to take advantage of America's generosity, that they be given a free pass now. All 11 million of them. Yeah, hey, let's just give them amnesty and look the other way, just like the Democratic Party and the anti-Americans do with all lawbreakers on their side. And now they are demanding that these criminals should be given amnesty for their crimes against the American people and the American immigration policies. This again shows that they are ungrateful guests that demand everything, and they demand it now. And they feel that they have the right to make these demands, which is absolutely ludicrous, folks. Now, they're illegal aliens. And, they all need to get back in line as far as we're concerned, because this is not going to stop. Where will it stop? When there's 100 million illegal aliens, overpopulating our country and turning it into another third world country? Okay, folks, let me give a quick analogy. let's say that you're having a party and you invite just one of your friends. And then this person brings 10 uninvited guests or friends of theirs to your home. And, I don't think anybody would like that too much. But, and then let's say they refuse to leave when the party is over, which I think we've all had happen, and then we had to kick them out and blah, blah, blah. Hey, it's time to go, folks. And so anyways, and then they demand that you allow them to sleep in your master bedroom. And then they demand that you feed them and house them for the rest of their lives. Well, folks, that is exactly what we have now here in America. Since the anti-Americans have convinced these 11 million illegal aliens that they have the right and that they have rights. Well, they do not. They're illegal. They do not have those rights. But they've convinced them that they have the right to invade your home and to use all of your resources and to eat all of your food and drink all your booze and spend all of your money because you have too much, and you have all, and they want what you have. And just to justify their occupation of your home. And since you have what they don't, then that is unfair somehow. Okay, folks? Which is, again, ludicrous. And then they want they want what you have. And what you have worked for all of your lives. And that, folks, is disgusting, and this is socialism, period. And America is not a socialist country, as we have pointed out over and over again. But if they get their way, this will be a socialist country. Now let me be clear. This agenda, this is the agenda of both the Democratic Party and many Republicans as well, as there are many anti-American agendas being implemented by all of these swamp monsters on both sides. Again, like Mitch McConnell, who is worthless and useless and incompetent. Okay? Either that or he has an agenda, which we have just pointed out. And this is the agenda of Obama and Clinton, who are the top anti-American citizens who subvert the truth and sabotage the American dream. And they will not stop until America is no longer America. As they want to eliminate all rights of legal American citizens, and they are pushing the race war in order to achieve this objective. And it is succeeding on many fronts, as you can plainly see if you just turn on your TV any day of the week, folks. Okay, folks, now let's move on to the topic of the day, which is the NFL controversy. First, let's relay some true facts to these uninformed, uneducated people like the pampered, and I'm going to say this, black citizens that have not faced racial discrimination, like Colin Kaepernick. And now LeBron James, apparently, who stated that we American citizens are unintelligent and uneducated. Okay? And, also let's not forget the disrespectful NBA player who is Steph Curry. Okay, now usually throughout my life, when somebody continues to tell me about myself and, this and that and the other thing, I let them go ahead and disparage me for a while, and then I turn the coin on them, and then I tell them about themselves. So that's what we're about to do here on One Eye News. We're about to tell Mr. Kaepernick, Mr. LeBron James, and Steph Curry about themselves, okay? First, Colin Kaepernick, and now, come on. This guy's a communist, okay? So let's be clear on that. And Mr. LeBron James, here are some actual factual numbers for you to study. We will use New York City for an example. Okay? The largest city in America, the most populated city in America. Okay, so here we go, LeBron. Because, hey, pay attention, because I know you didn't pay attention in class, and I'm not sure how you passed your classes in college. And I'm assuming that, you were given a bunch of free passes, and you had somebody else doing your homework. You were probably sleeping through class. So, Mr. James, in 1971, there were 314 people shot by police officers in New York City. 93 of these citizens were killed in these legal shootings by the police. Now, let's fast forward to 2015 in New York City, the most populated city in America. And again, this is also for Mr. Colin Kaepernick, who, is protesting the injustices in America. And again, I would agree that in some cases, there are these injustices against black citizens that we pointed out earlier that began in 1960 with Cloward and Piven and the liberals at Columbia University. Okay, so anyways, in 2015, in New York City, the most populated city in America, the police shot 23 people. Okay, folks? Hey, isn't that your number, James? Yeah, 23 people. And 6 of these citizens did die from these legal and justified policing actions, which works out to be a 90% reduction in fatal police shootings in the last 45 years in the most populated city in America. And that is a fact, Mr. James, Mr. Kaepernick, and Mr. Steph Curry. Where are your facts, Mr. James, Mr. Kaepernick? The fact is, Mr. James, Mr. Kaepernick, and all the rest of yous who are disparaging the police at this time, are that you have no facts, as you are ignorant to this truth, and or any truth for that matter, since you have drunk the Obama Kool-Aid and are now intoxicated by drinking this Obama Kool-Aid. You're all intoxicated by foolishness and lies. And therefore, you cannot see anything but the lie that the mainstream propaganda media is selling to you, okay? Which makes you the uninformed and the ignorant people to the facts. Because you have no facts, and you're just going off sound bites and stuff that sounds good, and you want to be social justice warriors, all right? And again, none of you have been subjected to what most of the black citizens that you're talking about that have been subjected to in the bad neighborhoods and over certain periods of time. And you are part of an entire generation of uninformed idiots that believe anything that is presented to you, okay? And I would challenge you, Mr. James, to debate me whenever you are ready. But you will not debate me because you have no facts to back up your hypothesis. Unlike we here at One Eye News, we have the facts. So go back to college and take some history classes, or at least study some facts, man, before you go and call our president a bum and a racist. Because, it's really you that seems to be the bum and the racist here, Mr. James. So I would love to debate you. Why don't you send me your private plane? I'll take that trip. Look, I don't have a private plane. I don't even have a plane ticket, for crying out loud. So why don't you send me that private plane on over and I'll be on the plane and we will debate. I'm going to give you some more facts, Mr. James, Mr. Kaepernick. Here are some actual facts. Black men are 70% less likely to be shot by police since the 1960s, citing Roland Fryer, who is a black economist from Harvard, and I believe he probably paid attention in class, unlike you, and who has developed a study in 2016. Again, Mr. Fryer studied while he was in college, unlike you, Mr. James. Furthermore, Mr. James and all the rest of you uninformed athletes, like Ray Lewis, who we will address here shortly, I assure you. If you take some time to actually study the facts and the statistics provided by the Department of Justice, and then you will see that there is not an epidemic of systemic racism that targets black citizens, as cited by a black attorney, again, another black citizen who is pointing out the facts for the rest of the black citizens. And this person is Peter Kirsanow, okay? He's a black attorney for the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, Peter Kirsanow, who cited the Department of Justice statistics and that are factual, unlike the sound bites that are provided by the corrupt media and others with an axe to grind against President Trump and against the police, apparently. So, this is all a lie based on a false premise, and the actual facts are that blacks are not shot and killed and or targeted disproportionately. Stating that, yes, some blacks are targeted by cops, and again, I would agree. And there are some racists in America that do wear a badge. However, in the last 30 years, that premise is completely false, folks. The fact is that blacks are killed, and again, these are statistics that are factual. Okay, so the fact is that blacks are killed 2.5 times more than whites are killed by the police. And again, I know that sounds like it goes right into what you're saying, but let's continue on and let's unpack this whole, let's peel this onion back and look at all the facts. So yes, the fact is that blacks are killed 2.5 more times than whites by the police. However, this is far less than the data would predict, given the black crime rates, folks. Okay, again, this does not make me racist. I'm citing a black citizen who did this study. Okay? So the data proves that the black crime rates are much higher than the white crime rates. And unfortunately, that's just true. And all you got to do is look at Chicago. So, or let's again examine New York City, the largest populated city in America. Blacks in New York City are 35 times more likely to commit robberies than whites are. Okay, folks? 35 more times likely to commit robberies. Blacks are also 38 times more likely to commit murder than whites. Okay? That's huge. Blacks are 38 times more likely to commit murder than whites. Again, this is not me saying this. This is a black citizen. Okay? And a very intelligent and informed person. Okay, so let's move on to another statistic, which is blacks are 51 times more likely to engage in shootings and or shootouts, regardless whether it results in a homicide. So, to compare the fact that blacks are 2.5 times more likely to be shot versus 51 times more likely to engage in the type of police involvement that you can expect from those statistics in the shootouts and the shootings. So this is far below what would be predicted, which results in consequences in regards to what is described as the Ferguson effect. Okay, folks? So we all know what happened in Ferguson, and according to another very educated scholar, who is Heather McDonald from New York, who has performed studies that back this up, and she testified before the Civil Rights Commission, showing that because of these protests and the consequences of these protests, then the police actually withdraw from active policing of these communities and are also ordered to withdraw by the city administrations. And that is a fact, folks. Just like we all saw in Baltimore, and the Obama administration had consent decrees that changed police practices and policies, resulting in the cops withdrawing from active policing in these communities, thus giving rise to even more criminal activity by black citizens. So, this confirms what One Eye News is presenting and has been presenting in our series. And the fact is that even after decades of decreasing crime in these communities, there has been a profound effect and a significant spike in crimes, and particularly violent crimes, immediately after Ferguson. Okay, folks? And these are just the facts. And hey, you might not like them again, and the truth is ugly and nobody wants to see it. But hey, you got a wart on the end of your nose, I'm going to tell you about it. You got a booger hanging out of your nose, I'm going to point that out. And especially, in all the cities that witness these high-profile police shootings and that are pushed by the corrupt media. And in the protests that followed, which resulted in the police pulling back and, that the media again spotlights in order to bolster their ratings. Okay? They're using your communities to do this so they can line their pockets, folks. Okay? And, the result of the Ferguson effect, as cited by the Pew studies, resulted in a 72% of police were less engaged in proactive policing and non-engagement as a direct result of the Ferguson effect, due to the corrupt media pushing this narrative that cops are targeting black citizens, okay? However, there is an exception here to the rule, and that exception is of black police officers, okay? That were found to be 3.3 times more likely to shoot black suspects than white police officers. Okay? Which is very interesting because that is never reported by the corrupt mainstream propaganda media, folks. Yes, let me repeat that. Black police officers were found to be 3.3 times more likely to shoot black suspects than white police officers. So, that is some more facts for you, Mr. James, Mr. Kaepernick, and Mr. Steph Curry. So when you look at the crime data that, is black involvement in crime versus police shootings, the number of shootings by police are far below the predicted crime involvement by black citizens. And that's just a fact. So, as a result of the false narrative and the perpetuation of all of these protests, which causes the Ferguson effect that has been pushed by Obama and the corrupt mainstream media. And again, these are facts. You can go on and look at all of the times that Obama went on the TV without facts and, indicted the police with no facts at all. And that again proves that Obama is anti-police, anti-law enforcement. Okay, so the consequences result in the data showing that there are significant spikes in murders of blacks by other black citizens. For example, in 2015, 900 more black citizens were murdered by other black citizens than the previous year in 2014. And I would say that many of these murders took place where? Yes, right in Obama's backyard, folks. Chicago. So, do the math, folks. 2 plus 2 again and all that. It doesn't equal 5 like Obama wants you to believe. So, and again, in 2016, that rate jumped another 900. So, another 900 more black citizens were being murdered by other black citizens each of the last 2 years. Come on, folks. That's an increase of 1,800 more black American citizens being murdered by their own black brothers and sisters. Okay? That's just in those 2 years. So, due to Obama and the media pushing the Ferguson effect onto the black communities. So, the fact is, folks, in 2016, 7,881 black citizens were murdered. And more than 90% of them by other black citizens. Okay, not by the cops, but by black citizens. Why is this not being reported by the corrupt mainstream media? And why is Black Lives Matter targeting cops and whites that disagree with them, when they should be all engaged in stopping black on black murders, yet no one says a word? Why, Mr. Obama? Why? America? Why? Okay? So, to put that into context, that number of black American citizens who do not deserve to be murdered by other black American citizens, I believe, this amount is almost double of the amount of soldiers that were killed in the entire Iraq War. And it is a direct result and consequence of this false narrative feeding the outrage in the black communities. That then feeds the protest and then results in the Ferguson effect, and thus the explosion of crime rates in the black communities. Okay? Come on, folks. These are facts. Where's yours, Mr. James and Mr. Kaepernick and Mr. Curry and the rest of any of you people that just want to bury your heads in the sand? And again, most people are ignorant to these facts and don't care that this is the truth. They just want to attack police and whites for, an incident here that may have happened or an incident there. And then they ignore the reality of the situation, which is that blacks are murdering other blacks, folks, because they believe America is racist. Okay, now again, that doesn't make any sense, but those are the facts. Why would you murder your own? Why would you go out? Well, we all know why, because these are criminals. They're drug dealers. They're gang members. They've got their foot in criminal activity. So they have to murder their competition in order to hold that corner, that street corner, or to do business or sell guns or whatever they're involved in. So this false narrative is being used by Obama and Clinton and other political players like Maxine Waters and Nancy Pelosi to feed the rage, to fuel the fire, and to blame cops and whites, and yes, President Trump and his supporters, for all of these crimes and all of these citizens being murdered. And again, they're not being murdered by the police or other whites. They're being murdered by black citizens. And it is the black citizens killing each other. Okay, as we continue to point out. And Ferguson was all a lie, folks, that the corrupt mainstream propaganda media pushes to get ratings and to fuel the fire. And it is resulting in the death of many, many black American citizens. And, this is really reprehensible. So I think you should turn your rage against the media and your own black brothers and sisters who are killing each other. Mr. Kaepernick, Mr. LeBron James, Why are you not down in Chicago, St. Louis, Detroit? Why? Because you're ignorant to the truth. That's why. And this again proves that Obama is responsible for the hateful crimes being perpetrated by the black communities due to Obama's rhetoric, his policies, and his words that do matter. Remember, words matter. And Obama, these words are, taken by black citizens as their gospel. And Obama is pushing hate, folks. He is not what he seems. Yes, he's a fine actor. Maybe he should go to Hollywood. Anyway, so he might win a Oscar or something someday if he was to do that. So, all of these facts do confirm that black suspects are less likely to be shot by police than white suspects. Okay, Mr. James? What do you have to say to that, Mr. Ignorant LeBron James and Colin Kaepernick? Oh, did I say Colin? Yes, I did. Anyways. And the rest of you uninformed athletes that live in mansions. Hold on, wait, let me rephrase. All of you pampered athletes, you don't live in mansions. Rather, you live in castles, okay? So get your asses out of your castles and get down to the hood and start admonishing your people and tell them to quit killing each other and stop blaming the cops and President Trump and whites for crying out loud. Do some fucking homework for once in your lives, okay? Because this is all a lie that has been sold to you by your former racist president, Barack Obama, and the mainstream propaganda media. So I would suggest that America should begin a movement called White Lives Matter. How about that, folks? What would happen if we began a movement called White Lives Matter? I would predict that if that movement ever was brought to fruition, that anybody involved in that movement would be called a racist, okay? So again, that's why I point out that Black Lives Matter is clearly racist, as the fact is that more whites are shot and killed by police than blacks who are shot and killed by police, okay? Per capita, per crime, okay? So, if you're doing 51% more crimes, then you're going to have a lot more chance to be shot by the police. So, let's do the math. And again, I would also point out that there are many more black gang members per capita than whites. So do some homework before you go running your racist mouth, Mr. LeBron James. And yes, I'm going to point out to Mr. James again and again because, I don't like what he's saying. So he might not like what I'm saying, but what we're saying is the truth backed up by facts. What he's saying is just idiotic, and he sounds really stupid when he goes on the TV or on the, Twitter or whatever he did with his rhetoric there. And this again speaks to our claim that Black Lives Matter is a racist organization, as we have detailed and backed up with facts over and over again, which we will do again right now. Like with the racist judge, who is Judge Brian A. Jackson, and an Obama operative that was appointed by Obama that ruled that Black Lives Matter cannot be sued. Okay? Yes, I repeat. Black Lives Matter cannot be sued. And, he cited some BS about how they are not an organization. What? Okay. He says they're not an organization with a governing body, which is a lie, and that is clear. The fact is that they are an unincorporated association that holds meetings and rallies, and they have national chapters, thus making them an organization, a quote, organization, okay? And they do solicit cash to further their cause, which is to promote violence against the police and against American citizens as well, as we have all seen on the TV. Come on. So we're going to point out one of their organizers of this organization, who is DeRay McKesson, who was the organizer directing the violence against the cops and was directly responsible for a police officer's injuries. And yet the judge ruled that DeRay McKesson was engaging in protected free speech. Okay, fair enough. But that judge also should have, recognized that this officer was assaulted by these racists that were, holding these protests. Okay. And then the corrupt judge, who, by the way, is black, and, this judge and the city of Baton Rouge awarded this anti-American domestic terrorist, DeRay McKesson, $100,000 of, yes, our taxpayer cash. My cash, your cash, our cash. So, this anti-American terrorist, after assaulting a police officer, was now awarded $100,000. And the police officer, what did he get? He got called a racist. Okay? So, citing that the police were militarized. Okay? The police were militarized. They were not militarized. Okay? That's just not true. The police were, the judge cited that they were militarized and that Black Lives Matter and DeRay McKesson's civil rights were violated. Okay, what a joke. Even though no Black Lives Matter people were injured. But this police officer was injured. So where's the justice there, folks? The police officer was injured when he was attacked by the domestic terrorist group Black Lives Matter and being directed by DeRay McKesson. All right? These are the facts, folks. Again, we're giving you facts. Thus giving Black Lives Matter the ability to assault the police and to kill the police, apparently, with zero consequences for these hateful and terrorist actions, thus making them untouchable. So nobody can sue them. Hey, if they go out and they start smashing schools tomorrow, hey, they're going to get awarded money because you might have said something that offended them. What? Okay, again, it proves our claim that the attorneys in America are using our laws against America and against the police and against the American citizens that challenge them in order to create a war against police and a race war against any whites that challenge them, like I am doing now. So to repeat, the so-called, quote, federal judge who refused, and he should not be a judge, he should be removed from the bench immediately, who refused to adhere to the common sense when a police officer attempted to sue the Black Lives Matter organization, which are domestic terrorists and radical racists, okay? And this black judge was appointed by Obama, and he ruled against the police officer that was assaulted by Black Lives Matter, the racist group. And then this judge and the corrupt bureaucrats, they awarded the racist, reprehensive member of Black Lives Matter $100,000 of your and my money, okay? Instead of ruling against them for assaulting the police officer. And, this again is direct evidence that Obama and his band of anti-American racist black appointees are creating the hateful actions against the police, as we have detailed earlier. And it clearly shows more evidence that Obama is anti-law enforcement, as we have pointed out over and over again several times in our previous episodes. And it is clear evidence that this is Obama's Make America Hate Again campaign and is being pushed by the racist, domestic terrorist, anti-American former president of the United States of America. Period. Okay? Again, folks, I know how that sounds, and I know nobody wants to believe that. And look, I don't want to believe that, but I can't hide my eyes from the truth. It's not in my DNA. When I see you with the booger hanging out of your nose, I'm going to tell you about it. Okay? And I see it. And Obama is the booger hanging out of America's nose. To clarify, for America and any who are being led by the blind leading the blind. For instance, like, come on, Mr. Stevie Wonder. You're a blind man leading the blind. You're better than that. All right? You know it and I know it. You're better than that, man. Come on. I've been a fan of yours since I was, 7 years old. Come on. Okay, so to clarify, for any of the blind leading the blind, like Colin Kaepernick, or should I say Colin Kaepernick, I'm going to call you Colin from now on because you're an ass. And you are not a hero, as many ignorant people are claiming. You're not a hero. You are a zero. Okay? Yes, he is a zero, folks, that has incited more violence towards the police and all of white America. And I'm going to keep pointing that out until people, see it for themselves. And Mr. Kaepernick is an anti-American that hates America, and he hates the police, as proven by his own words when he made his original statement in 2016. That clearly targeted the police and white American citizens. And so this, clearly proves that he is a racist. And by his own action, when he wore socks that depicted pigs wearing police uniforms. And again, with his anti-American actions that are confirmed on his own website when he donated $25,000 to the organization that supports the racist cop killer and, again, a hero of Barack Obama, who we pointed out earlier in one of our earlier episodes. And this person is Joanne Chesimard, who was a cop killer, who we detailed in an earlier episode, who fled to Cuba and has been allowed to live free and clear after her anti-American racist killing of a white American police officer. Okay, folks? That's just a fact. You see, this is all a false narrative being sold to you by Obama, who is your false prophet, and being pushed by the corrupt mainstream propaganda media. So, to both Colin Kaepernick and you too, Mr. LeBron James, the both of you are a disgrace to your race and to America. And you should both apologize to your president immediately. And you should ask for forgiveness. No, you should beg for forgiveness, for crying out loud. As you are a false voice for all the black youth who are listening to your unintelligent rhetoric. And they believe it. Okay? And this is disgusting. Because, this black youth now believes what you're saying. And that diminishes their value in America. Because unlike you, Mr. James, they will not be gifted 2 NBA championships. Yes, I did not stutter. I said gifted. You did not win those championships, Mr. James. And I think you know that as well as all the people in Boston and people in Oklahoma City. And I'm going to point this out right now, and I'm sure it's going to be controversial. While in the Boston series, you were given the whistle and what I call the Jordan rule, okay? And you were gifted the victory. When it was the Boston Celtics that were cheated out of their rightful place in that NBA championship that particular year, okay? And I watched every single second of that series. And, we saw what happened. You guys were gifted. And the Boston Celtics were cheated out of their rightful spot. And I'm going to explain later on why that happened. I'm going to explain to America why these thefts occurred. And again, in the finals against Oklahoma City, when you were again gifted the victory. Okay? Now, for any who want to challenge me on that, I would challenge you to go back and watch the tape of Game 7 in that series, when in the very last final minute of that Game 7, in the very final minute, Kevin Durant was blatantly fouled at the three-point line. Okay? We all know it happened. We all saw it. And the whistle was swallowed by the NBA officials. Okay? Kevin Durant was blatantly fouled at the three-point line, which would have resulted in your defeat, Mr. James. And we all know that was a gift to you. The reason that these thefts occurred is because, and again, I know how this is going to sound, folks, but I'm going to back this up. And let's call it a theory for now, but I think there's a lot of proof to prove my theory. The reasons that these thefts occurred is because the NBA and the NFL are multi-billion-dollar corporations that must create superstars in order to generate the revenue that they desire. And they must have in order to keep the ball rolling and to sell their product, which is you, Mr. James. You are their product. Okay, so if anybody is using black folks, it's the NBA and the NFL. Okay, so I know how this sounds, but they must create superstars in order to generate that revenue. And Mr. James, you are a poor sport, just like Cam Newton. As we witnessed with Cam Newton in the famous press conference when he acted like a petulant little child, as you have acted in many times, as I have witnessed the both of you exhibit the same poor sportsmanship time and again. Like the time when you were getting stomped in a playoff game, or maybe it was a finals game, I can't quite remember right now. But and then you took yourself out of the game with several minutes to play, and you still had some chance to, maybe even win the game, but even a chance to redeem yourself or close out the game with a strong performance. Yet, Mr. James, you chose to go to the bench and sulk and pout, like a little child. And we all saw you do it. You know you did it. And, anybody who disputes me on that, I'll bring the tape up and I'll put it on for you to see for yourselves. Okay? These are not the actions of a great champion and or a sportsman. Rather, they are the actions of a petulant, spoiled, rotten, entitled child, as you are. Okay? And, I can't quite recall which game it was right now, but I would be happy to go back and watch the tape to find the games that you're acting like a petulant, spoiled, rotten child, and then I will forward them to you, okay? If you would like me to do so, just let me know and I will do that. So yes, you and I and the people of Boston and the people of Oklahoma City know that you were gifted those championships in order for the NBA to create a superstar. And you are no Michael Jordan. You don't even come close. You pale in comparison, sir. And we will discuss more aspects of the NBA in a few minutes here. But for now, I would simply say that you also need to apologize to the black youth for misleading them with your big mouths and your uninformed rhetoric, Mr. James and Mr. Kaepernick. So stop it. You look and sound ridiculous and uneducated, which is what you are saying we are. Okay? So I know you and Cam Newton and Colin Kaepernick are all black. So, in fairness, there's plenty of other white poor sports as well. And I will point out one for you just right now. And again, I'm sure I will be attacked for this, but here it goes. That person is Tom Brady, okay, who is, according to you guys, quote, the epitome of white privilege, according to, all of black America. Anyhow, but before we know how the NBA and the NFL are both fixed on some level, and I will detail that, in order, they're fixed in some ways in order to generate revenue and to create superstars in order to sell their products, which are you. And we will simply note that you, Mr. James, and you, Mr. Kaepernick, are a disgrace to America at this point. And this is a topic that I have been wanting to broach for many years and to confront for many years now. And so we will expose the NFL and the NBA here on One Eye News in our very next episode, which will be a continuation of this episode, because we're going to cut off right now at our 1 hour mark. And we will pick this up in our very next episode, which will be available along with this episode. So America, thank you again for tuning in to One Eye News. America's Eye, laser focus on the truth. I'm Johnny D, keeping my eye on the truth for America. And please, follow us on Twitter, contribute at Patreon, share us, like us, retweet us, and help us get the word out. Okay, folks, thanks again for tuning in.